Alright, so this video is meant to address the essential upgrades and scams to avoid for home defense and also for concealed carry. I'm not talking about competition, project guns, or anything else. This is just for those two topics. So, let's get started. This is my Glock 19. Show you that it is unloaded. So, legit upgrades. The most legit thing for your Glock is to upgrade the sights immediately. Glock is known for having some of the worst stock sights. They're plastic, they're less precise, and they're slower to align than most other sights, even on stock firearms. So this is really the only truly legit upgrade that you need to do right away to your Glock. So just throw your sights in the trash can and pick up some real ones. So on my Glock 19, I have Ameriglow iDot Pro sights, and I really like these. I'll see if I can show you on the camera. Come on. Anyways, not sure if you can see that, but they align really clearly and easily. They have this big wide rear sight and then the bright orange dot on the front. And then these are also tritium sights, which means that they have little tritium inserts in the sights. So they do glow when it's low light or in the dark. And I think that's essential for any self-defense or home defense gun. So there's little tritium vials down here, right below the white rear sight, and then also right below the orange front sight. And so if you're in low light conditions or using night vision, then you're going to see two dots, and you basically just stack the front one right on top of the rear one, and that ends up being a lot easier than trying to line up three dots in the dark, which can be confusing if you've ever tried it. So yeah, that is the only thing that you absolutely have to do to your Glock right away. There are a ton of companies that make awesome sights: Trijicon, Ameriglow, Weaver. Yeah, so just choose one that you like, that you think fits your needs. Most good sights are going to run you $60 to $150, give or take. I think these were like $70. So now let's talk about optional but still legit upgrades. So the first thing would be an extended magazine release. You can see here I have one that sticks out quite far. I have kind of smaller hands, so if I grip the gun, you can see how my thumb just barely goes over it. So with the stock one, if I'm shooting, I have to flip the gun like that in order to be able to press it. So with this, I can stay on target and still release the magazine. So that's optional. If you have bigger hands, then this may not be a problem for you. It's not necessarily, but it's a legit upgrade. Next would be an extended slide catch. So that's right here. This is a factory extended slide catch from Glock. I think these run about $20. For me, it's the same thing. With my thumb, it doesn't totally reach, like not with enough leverage to consistently release the stock one. So this one comes with just a tiny extended lip right there, and that helps me to operate this when I need to. So legit upgrade. Next would be a 3.5 pound trigger connector. That's a little metal piece that runs right inside here. And what that does is it helps to determine how hard your trigger pull is. So right now with the 3.5 pound connector, it's pretty light and it's very, very crisp. So the one I have is from Ghost. I believe it was $20. This is something you can do. You don't need to do it right away. But if you're really comfortable with your fundamentals and you want something to improve your shooting a little bit, I think it's a good idea. And since it's only $20, if you don't like it, you can just swap it back out. It's really easy to do. So the next thing would be a heavier trigger reset spring. Again, that's a little spring in here, and what that does is when the trigger is pulled, it's going to aid in the trigger bouncing back, and it makes that very crisp noise that you can really feel, and it's a little bit stiffer than stock. So I have a 6-pound trigger reset spring, and this can also help with follow-up shots. For me, I do notice I'm a little quicker with it, and this is like a $3 part, and it's very easy to put in. So I definitely recommend getting it. If you don't like it for some reason, then you just swap out your stock spring and you'll be fine. So the last thing on my essential but optional upgrades would be some kind of grip job. You can see here I have a Glock grip tape piece that I bought that wraps around. For me, with Glock grips, they're not known for having the best stock grips, so if it's wet or raining or I'm sweating a little bit, with multi-shot drills, my hand will tend to start slipping. This completely handles that. This was like $10. And then you could also do a stippling job with a soldering iron, where you're basically just depressing and heating up the plastic and creating little holes. And you can make a pattern on your gun on any part of it that you want that's plastic. And that's a little bit more complicated, but it's also inexpensive. So consider doing that if you're not happy with the feel of the grip. Okay, so now we're going to move on to scams. Things that you should absolutely avoid for the purposes that we're talking about. Not for competition, not anything else. So the first one would be custom or aftermarket barrels. The Glock factory barrels are completely fine. It's highly unlikely that anyone of average experience with firearms is going to notice any difference at all in accuracy with an aftermarket barrel. In my opinion, this is a total waste of money, and it will not improve your shooting at all. These can run anywhere from $75, and I've seen them as high as like $200. Spend this money on ammo and training, you really will not notice a difference. Okay, next would be drop-in triggers. This would be a whole trigger unit that includes the trigger and all of the internal parts that you buy, and you literally drop it in. It's like one set. Again, the stock Glock trigger is actually fine. There's nothing really wrong with it. The only thing I might do are the trigger spring and connector, which I just talked about. Otherwise, why do you want to waste $150 or more on something that you really do not need unless you're doing competitive shooting? For this one, I'm also going to say just buy ammo and training. These will benefit you a lot more. So next thing is custom slide cuts and aftermarket slides. This is another expensive aftermarket piece or custom job that will not help you. Yes, you can cut off a few ounces of weight from your slide. It's not going to make any noticeable difference. And they do look badass, there's no denying that, and I love the look. But here we are addressing self-defense, not a fashion show. Save your money unless you've got the basics covered first and you want to change the look of your Glock. Okay, now we're going to move on to super scams. These are a few things that are touted a lot as making a big difference, and they really don't make a difference. So the first one would be tungsten and weighted guide rods. These are pretty expensive and will do nothing. And no, the slight extra weight of the guide rod, the tungsten and steel ones right here, is not going to make any noticeable or productive difference in your recoil. Plus, they wear out even quicker than the stock factory guide rods. So, buy ammo. Next is custom firing pins, strikers, etc. What a bad idea. Glocks are famous for their reliability and safety. Why would you want to mess with this? I have no idea, honestly. For self-defense, there is zero reason to change any internal part of that significance. It could affect your reliability, and for self-defense and everyday carry, that is not something that we ever want to mess with. So, hard pass on those. Alright guys, I hope this was useful to you. Don't forget to subscribe below. Please feel free to comment any questions and I will make sure to answer you. Try and remember that this video is just my opinion and you should always do your own research and in the end, get whatever you want.